It was
It happens in Germany.
Oktoberfest does, but it was Oktoberfest.
it was root beer club,
Yeah,
Okay.
beer float
not
and
of a
cake.
kind.
Well, it's all.
It was a smaller crowd, but it was really, really nice.
But there was no speaker this morning.
No, I think it's the first one of them, the first of the month, yeah,
60 people.
the first meeting of the month.
I would like to hear one speak.
Yeah, you should definitely come.
Oh, for like,
For the morning meeting, yeah, it's,
When I would go to conventions in
Yeah,
California, I would
you
always
get to
go
hear
to
both.
hear her speak.
And then
Yeah.
you gotta get on there.
it's good perspective. It really is.
This is how the ships were dropping. And see, they've dropped.
Remember, she was talking, that she was a driver.
You're not ready for that, but you should one day.
Probably
Come to it.
Saturday.
I'll adopt
you.
So sometime in the next hour, 15 minutes is when Saturday shift will rock.
Morning, silly.
Every day.
Amy!
Yeah,
Hey, Greg.
I'm over.
How's your night?
And sometimes.
11-year-old screaming girls. It was wonderful. Oh, I was
Yeah.
like, Greg, you're having a birthday party.
Yeah. 45.
You didn't, why didn't you just put them all in the van and take them over to Brewster's? That would have been, and then you could have like had a moment of peace, like outside the tent while they were carving pumpkins. How was it though? Yeah.
Okay.
Sleep? Did they sleep over?
That feeling, but
Only a couple did. Okay.
my neighbor and I were talking, we were saying, good thing we're both.
You-
all the other people. Got us to the hospital and that's about it.
It's understandable that some parents don't let
Or is it?
kids sleep over.
I don't want my kids.
Yeah, exactly.
I've heard too many nightmares.
I was like, spend the night at my house,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm over it at my house, but
I don't let them go.
my kids don't rarely ever go anywhere else, and they don't even ask me, really.
I just let it
They just always ask me if so come to my house, I'm like, yeah, that's fine. One kid never showed up last night. Okay.
Did you go to Superfest?
Really good.
I
Yeah.
was just assuming you had to meet with yesterday. Oh, good. You should have talked to me before you did that.
Hey, we don't give advice in this program.
My little sister, I can give advice. I don't expect her to
Only
follow it.
suggestion.
I don't expect her to follow it. I got a whole lot of sisters and a whole lot of brothers that I never had before.
I know, aren't we lucky?
Yeah, well, that's debatable.
I have 9 already that I can choose, so I'll take the ones I chose.
I got the.
No, I love my
I was gonna
siblings.
say, I only got 2.
I love my siblings, but there's 9 of us total. So there's 8.
It's got a long
And I'm done. The baby of the family, the black sheep of the family.
I'm the black sheep of the family and the oldest. And 5 of them, my dad had after he left my mom. So they're really tight with each other, not so much with me. I still try though, but I can't get out of California very now. So that kind of,
And then
it's like when they're pregnant, when I think I don't find out is
So I
what
have to go
I'm
over my rental
seeking information.
because
My dad will
they
tell me.
thought the group
They don't
for the
help me, you know, I'm not the girl. I'm their older sister, but I'm not their
Oh, yeah, you gotta have the rent.
Ariel, which is
Into the
fine,
plumbing,
but
so it will actually flow.
Yeah.
like, cause I tried, but
It's like my,
It backs up.
I
Yeah.
have 3 kids of my own, 3.
And so,
Mhm.
me and my friend,
And it's hard, I know.
friend is like,
Yeah.
we're there. I'll plan you to get up on the roof.
We've tried.
Yeah.
Turns out,
It does like that.
right, I mean, they have to change that dynamic themselves, like, so.
absolutely go about it. So he came all the way over there with like ladders and
Yeah.
all that stuff.
I'm really excited though, I can't even believe that she said yes. She didn't even talk to me about it. She just said,
But,
I'm thinking. And I'm like,
and then
what?
I
I don't even believe that you said yes.
do want to do it.
One of the very first times I met her, she was asking me to make the station room. She was like, I love my nurse.
I know,
Like,
I
dead
give her
serious,
that.
and I was like, I love that girl.
Yep, I totally give her shit every single time. I'm like, okay. I'm like, your hair's dry. You can talk tonight.
My favorite moment with her.
No. I was like, oh, come on in.
She gave me her wisdom too. She was pretty funny.
I
was there for like an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours. She doesn't even remember me.
Yeah, I know. Well, I was like, so it's like, I can come by, I can bring you something, bottles. Like, no. And then she's like, I guess Amy came over. And I'm like, okay, well, what's your answer on how you like?
I just scared of her mom. And I want to leave her. This is my mom. Talking to her, she doesn't remember.
I was like, hi. I really know. Let's hear it. Yeah.
When she was muffin posters.
I don't know. I'm interested in. So.
Introduce her, I don't know exactly.
So I usually keep it to like minutes and just say, yeah, exactly. Just say lovely things about her and then just be like, here's Lindsay, here's
Oh, yeah. I see her. I don't. Help on that.
Good, you. Good. Yeah, good. Good, yeah. Always used to be, we always planned early.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Exactly. I got my winter clothes out ready, he just acted there.
And all of that.
Oh, yeah. I'll be working outside the party.
We buy all.
Well,
Oh, yes. Yeah. Yeah. There's a whole pile of flyers. And it was no. That's how we always did. What's new down in the bathroom?
I do. I think that's to get you started. This is it. You know,
my phone and ask.
like, oh my God.
Oh my God, who told you that word? I'm like, I was calling you.
Tell me the truth. It's just the truth.
It's just
Oh, we have no bathroom.
I go see. Probably hungry, so I. Well, this thing there, they tell you that in the district, and you're dead.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, Janet.
Yeah.
Can I help you? There you go. You just have to schedule it, so I can write it down. I'll show you, or I'll go get it.
I was, my grandmother was in that building.
The week was good. The week.
Good.
The.
at work. The first time I met Lizzie, well, one of the very first times I met Lizzie, she was asked to speak at the solution group. And dead serious, she looked at everybody and said, I can't, my hair is wet. And from that moment, I have loved this girl. She does so much service work and she brings so much joy when we are doing service work. One of my favorite days of the week is Mondays. I get to go to jail meetings with her, and the hope and strength she brings to those young women in there is incredible, and it's inspiring to me. The courage and bravery she has to do this journey so young is absolutely inspiring. And that's all I got to say, except I love you.
I can do this. I'm Lizzie. I'm an alcoholic. My sobriety date is 4/10/2023. I had to think about that last night, which was crazy to me. I was like, I don't even know. And I used to just like circle on that date. I'm really, really nervous. My hair is semi-dry, so I do feel like I can speak. That is a rule of mine. I am gonna be a little all over the place, I'm sure, so just bear with me. When I was thinking about doing this, I was thinking about how unqualified I felt because I feel like I'm still a baby in sobriety, which I am. I have, what, 2.5 years. And I remember when I got 1 year, I thought, oh, I'm like a pro. I have got this. And I look back on that now and I was like, oh God, someone stop her. But my mom said, just go up and be yourself, honey. So we'll start. I feel like I'm one of the very fortunate few who had a very good childhood. My parents are like the most amazing people in the whole world. I mean, they're kind of fucked up, but that's what makes them fun. But since I was like 3 years old, I always just felt really uncomfy. I don't know why, but I was so uncomfortable just being me. And I remember my parents would record me freaking out, why? But it would be like any little thing would just send me over the edge. I ended up having a sticker chart for any day that I didn't make my mom cry. I got a sticker. And if I got 7 stickers in a row, I got a hula hoop. But I was just like not happy. And I started going to therapy at a young age, and that didn't do anything. They like made me play with sand. And I was like, I don't know what I'm doing here. And it just kind of continued like that. Elementary school, awful for me. I was so upset all the time. And I remember that. And I always wanted there to be something wrong, but I couldn't think of what was wrong. Like externally, I had a really good life. And then when I was in high school, I found alcohol, of course. And I remember the first time I got drunk, I was in like an abandoned house with my friends, and I don't know how we got there, why. And we had Angry Orchards, and it was the best night of my whole life. And I was like, oh my gosh, look how cool I am. Look how great I am. I can do all these things. I can talk to people. I can be myself. And I was like comfy for the first time. Like my shirt didn't feel weird and I didn't feel like my face was red and I just felt good. And I was unaware of really what alcohol was, I wasn't like, oh, this is probably not good. And I just would crave it from the first time I ever drank. I would like, that's what I looked forward to with like the weekend. Friday night so that I could go. And I never got in trouble or at like I was a really good kid and I got like straight A's all through high school. I was super uptight. I always have been just like pretty freaking crazy upstairs. But I was like a 4.0 student. I was a synchronized swimmer. So I was like pretty way harder than you guys think, okay? You can't touch the bottom. And so I was like pretty like active with other people and I did well. But I still just looked forward to drinking and my parents just assumed because I was such a good kid that I didn't do anything wrong. Like I wasn't drinking, I wasn't doing and they were pretty preoccupied with my brother. He was kind of a shit show. So um I just kind of got to have free reign and it was awesome. And I remember, especially in high school, like I could just drink a lot more than everyone else. And all my friends, they would get like sloppy drunk and they'd be like, I have to throw up. And I was like, okay. And I would always like sneak at the parties. I remember I'd like sneak and grab like a whole glass of like vodka and hide it under the couch because I didn't want it to run out. I was so afraid of it running out before I could get enough. And I would drink the whole thing and then they'd all be like, oh man, I don't feel good. And I was like, you're so lame. I'm fine. And I felt like that was like a superpower. But I feel like at that time, like I felt like alcoholic. I started having like boyfriends and I could talk to people. And I do think it progressed pretty quickly, even at that age. Like I just started craving it all the time. But I went to college, and that's kind of where I feel like shit hit the fan for me. Um, I realized that I was like not accountable to anyone except for myself, and I could kind of do whatever I wanted, which was not good for me. But I I just started doing it every day, drinking every day. But it wasn't really a problem because I still like had a 4.0 and I like went to all my classes and I definitely channeled my addiction into like other things, at one point I was like training for an Ironman, which like to me now I'm like I can't run a block. But I would like drink while I did it. I'd be like running and then I'd have to like circle back to my house and get a shot and I'd keep going. And then on Friday nights, I'd let myself do like a beer mile. That was like my fun thing, like I'd put one on every corner for myself. And I was just doing this alone, like, what a fucking weirdo. Also, never cleaned up the cans. So I just like littering also, which is not okay. But I was in nursing school and I was doing really well in nursing school. And I remember we had overnight clinicals and I remember like sitting in my room panicking because I was like, how am I going to drink? Because at that time I was like, I'm not going to drink if I go to the hospital because that's really dangerous. But I like downed 4 White Claw surges and then I did yoga. And then I went on the hospital shift and everything went fine. And so I thought, okay, that's a really good solution because now I know that I can drink and then still function at the hospital, which oof. I was also on oxygen though. So I had like, because I got really sick. I got COVID and it scarred my lungs. So I was on oxygen for like 2 years. So while I was doing clinical, I had my oxygen tank. So I do think that people like just kind of gave me a lot of grace. So I probably wasn't doing a great job in my clinicals. It was just that they were like, we're not going to tell the young girl with the tube up her nose that she's not doing a good job. And now I'm thinking about it, that like being on oxygen kind of, I think allowed me to really drink a lot more. I've told this story before, but when I would go to bars and things, people would feel bad. They would think I was like dying and then like it was like my Make-A-Wish or something. And I would just get free booze up the wazoo. Like everyone was, they're like, oh, look, she is so brave for being at a bar. while on oxygen. Nobody was like, maybe you should go home. They were all like, oh, you are a soldier. And then they'd buy me whatever I wanted. And of course, I then had to stop training for the Ironman. And so I was at home a lot more with my tube. And I had some traumatic things happen at that point in my life, which I think trauma and alcoholism just love each other so much. And I wasn't able to live in my house because I had a stalker. So I had to move every 3 days. So my only stable thing was booze. And that's when I started like blacking out every single night. And I eventually was able to move back into my house, and I graduated nursing school. Concerning. I took the state exam, intoxicated, passed, which concerning. But I was so broken. I lived with my brother at the time and had a boyfriend who was also a nurse, and we were about to be engaged. And so everything looked really good. I had my nursing degree and I had the boyfriend and blah, but I would black out every single night, and I started getting really violent. And I don't remember like the 2 years of this time. I would like just start drinking. I remember starting to drink usually at like noon, and I didn't eat when I was not drinking because I couldn't. So I would eat only when I drank. And I remember like I'd just wake up the next day and I'd be like bruised. My boyfriend would be bruised. My brother would be crying. And that was just how that my life was. But I never wanted to acknowledge it, right? My brother would be like, what are you doing? And I'd look at him and I'd go, lie, 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 deny, deny, deny. That was like my catchphrase. I said it all the time. I still say it sometimes because I think it's kind of cute. But I would not want to acknowledge what had happened the night before. So I'd like just really try and go about my life. And I started like, when I'd be like in the morning, I'd be like, oh, I have to be perfect now. Like I have to be perfect now so that last night doesn't matter. So I had all this pressure when I was like sober to be a really good human. And that was hard for me. And cops would come at night, and I don't remember that. My brother somehow always talked people out of taking me away. And I started having seizures almost nightly, and my brother would take me to the hospital, and I'd be like, Mac, it's not because I'm drunk. I didn't drink. And he'd be like, okay, that's my brother, Mac. He'd be like, I believe you. And we'd go into the hospital, and my blood alcohol would be like off the charts, and they'd hand him a pamphlet for like a recovery center or something. And he'd be like, no, she's not drunk, because he believed me. He's so good. But yeah, and we probably did that like 5 to 10 times. And then it just got worse. And I took a quiz on BuzzFeed at this time to see if I was an alcoholic. Because I was like, there's not a chance of it, but like, let's cover our bases so I can tell people. And it said strong likelihood. I said, that's good for me because that doesn't mean yes. And clearly I knew there was an issue. My family, we did not talk about alcoholism. We did not know about it. In nursing school, they teach you like you're homeless and you live under a bridge. So I was like, and you're an old man. And I was like, so I'm good. And I knew it was a problem, right? Because everyone was like, this is like kind of crazy. And I was like, no, but it's not the alcohol. So it just got really, really bad, like really bad. And my mom was so worried about me. My dad, I'm sure was, but he's pretty medicated. And so I did all the things. I went to like a addictions counselor, but you can lie to them. because they don't actually know if you're drinking. So, and it was on Zoom. And so I would have my White Claw behind my computer screen. She'd be like, "So how are you doing?" I'd be like, "I'm great. I have 12 days sober." And she'd be like, "That's amazing." And I was like, "I know." And then I would hang up and I would drink the White Claw. And I had this, my brother just told me this week. I think he's told me before, but I forgot. And we had a big window in our living room, and I would whiteboard every day a tally that I was sober. And he's like, you'd come up to me and you'd be like, "I gotta get the whiteboard. I'm sober." And I would tally it because I didn't want to be sober, but I wanted nobody else to be hurt anymore. And I think my mom took me to some like witch healer woman who like pressed on my body to clear me of alcoholism. And that didn't work, surprisingly. And so we went to I was like trying to control it. And I had like a couple good weeks where I like was like nothing traumatic happened. Didn't go to the hospital. No cops came. No EMTs came. So we went to California for my cousin's wedding, and on Easter Sunday, we went to Catholic Mass with my grandmother, and I had the sip of the wine. Fucked me up. I was like off and ready after that. And so that night I ended up, I don't know, I drank my grandma, she's like pretty like conservative and buttoned up. I drank like her whole liquor cabinet. And everyone had gone to bed. I guess I took a shower, and then I woke up the next day. And I put like so much hair product in my hair, right? After I showered, because I got all this. And I woke up, there's no hair product in my hair. And I was covered in bandages, and everyone was crying. And I was like, "Oh, lie. And so I guess I had like taken a shower and fallen in the shower and then tried to kill myself in the shower multiple times. And my poor grandmother, she's like 88. She was in there and she's like, "Oh my, I can't." Oof. And I like was scared at that point. I don't think I was scared for me. I didn't give a crap about me. I was scared for what I was doing to my family. And we got in the car. We had to go back to the airport, and we were in this like black suburban thing, and everyone was crying. And my mom turned around in the car and she said, "What happened last night?" I said, "I fell in the shower." And she said, "But you were drunk." And I said, "No, I wasn't drunk." And she's like, "Yeah, you were." And I think like watching my dad cry, I was like, okay, something's got to happen now. We got out of the car and he kind of pulled me aside and he's like, "I think one day this is going to be the best thing that ever happened to you." And I was like, "No, I just want to erase it." And he was like, "No, I think one day this is going to be really good." And we got back in the car. I don't know why we got out of the car. I don't know. My mom probably needed to like go weep in the bathroom or something. And we were in the car driving again. And they were like, "What do we do?" And none of us knew what the hell you do. I was like, I think you put me away somewhere. My parents were like, "Maybe a sanitarium." And then they were like, they'd heard of rehab and they were gonna just leave me in California to find a rehab. But I had my first nursing job the next day. And I was like, I can't go to rehab. I'm gonna lose my job. And so my dad was like, "Okay, I think there's this thing, AA. Why don't we have her just try one of those meetings? And if it works, then that's great. But if not, we'll send her away." And so I got home and I got on the phone and I tried to call the AA hotline. And they said, "What's your insurance info?" And I gave it to them. And they said, "What's your social?" And I said, "Here you go." Nothing happened, I think. So far, I have all my money and things. But I was like, that's really weird. And they're like, yeah, you have to go to rehab or else they won't let you into AA. And I was like, okay. I was like driving down Front Street and I was like, that sounds really weird. And so I got home and I told my brother, I was like, yeah, I want to go like to an AA meeting, but it sounds super weird. Like they needed my social. Um, and he was like, well, I actually, one of my best friends is in AA. So I'll call her. And she came over and I went to that meeting that night, at the zoo group. And I remember where I sat and I was crying the whole time. And I was wearing makeup, and so I was really upset that I was crying. So I was like trying to cry like that so it didn't fall down my face. And um uh Jen, her dog was there, Jack. And so I'm not like a huge dog person, but I pretended to be really into that dog so no one would talk to me. Um and I don't think I remember anything that happened to that meeting, but they gave me the 24-hour coin. And I was like, this is the biggest moment of my life. And I went home and I showed my boyfriend at the time and my brother. My brother started crying so hard because he was so proud of me about getting that 24-hour coin. And my plan was to go to AA for 3 months so that everyone would feel okay. And then I was just going to kill myself because I thought, why would I want to be alive without alcohol? It's the only thing that makes me feel good. It's the only thing that's fun. It wasn't fun. But I was like, there's nothing else to look forward to. I can't do anything sober. I was even thinking like, how am I supposed to go to an AA meeting sober? It's really dull. So I thought I'd have to be drunk to go to AA meetings. But the chair was little bald Trevor. And I thought he was like the president of AA because they don't, at your first meeting, nobody's like, hey, this is how this works. The chair is just a guy. We're all gonna say a prayer. So you're just we should probably like work on that as a people. But he was like, you have to go to 90 meetings in 90 days. And he has a real like authoritative air about him. And so I was like, oh, I have to do that. First up, I don't know why I wasn't like, okay, he's just an AA dude. I was like, I have to do what he says. And then he was like, and you have to get a sponsor, like now. And I was like, I don't even know what that is. But I went the next day because Trevor had told me I have to go to 90 meetings in 90 days. And I made it. I remember I made it to 3 meetings and I was like, shit, this is good. This is obviously working for people. And I actually think it might work for me. And that was so terrifying because I was like, now I have to be alive. And I don't know how to do that. And I don't even know if I have interest in doing that. So I just kept going. And I think I went to like, I don't know how many days 6 months is, but I went to a meeting every day for like 6 months. And I got the sponsor because I was told I had to by Trevor. And I looked at the steps and I said, not for me, but I'll do the rest of it. And so I met with this sponsor woman and she's like, well, we have to do the steps. And I was like, oh, I don't think we do. But we did. And we did have to do the steps. Step 1, I think for me was the first half really easy, right? Clearly shit goes down when I drink that I don't like. And I am ruining my life and everyone's life. My life being unmanageable though seemed like not a thing for me. I was like, I have a nursing job, I have the boyfriend, and I'm not homeless. It took me like a year to realize that like the unmanageability was inside me and like the destruction around me. And it was so unmanageable. I was in so much medical debt from going to the ER for seizures, non-alcoholic seizures. And my liver was failing at the time too. Non-alcoholic liver failure, whatever. Because I told every doctor I was Mormon. And so I had like this pile of medical bills and I was like, I can't touch those. I can't look at those. So I hadn't paid my bills in months. I like didn't know how to eat. I didn't know how to go to the grocery store. I didn't know how to do anything. when I got sober. I was like, I don't know, I didn't get the lesson in 4th grade. And so for the first like 6 months of sobriety, all I ate was a box of Oreos a day and a box of the Smucker's Uncrustables because I was like a 2-year-old. I like couldn't exist. So that second half took me a really long time. And I think I made it to like step 2 with that sponsor. And I was like, I don't know about all this stuff because I could understand how not drinking would affect my life. I did not think that like having a higher power in my life correlated to my drinking, my success in life. I was like, logically, if you look at that, you're like, that makes no sense, right? Like, tell me how to feel good without drinking. Like, is there like some sort of, I was looking for like an essential oil that would make me feel drunk, you know? That would be helpful. And so I decided I was going to switch sponsors because maybe my second sponsor wouldn't want me to do the higher power thing. And I switched sponsors. And she also was like, yeah, you kind of have to do this. And she was a lot more of a hard ass, which was good for me. But she was like, so you just have to be willing. And I was like, okay, I can be willing. I grew up Catholic. Then we became Buddhist for a while in 6th grade. My mother then got into Wiccanism, witchy. My dad stayed Buddhist. So I was like, I kind of felt like I had whiplash from the whole like religion higher power thing. But she was like, are you just like okay to say that you're not like the end all be all? And I was like, give me a week on that. And she was like, okay, I'll give you a week on that. And I had seen this really cheesy movie for like teen girls. And I was like about like the perfect things in life. And so I went around with a notebook and everything that I wrote down that was like, really good, I saw. I was like, okay, there's a pretty pink camper on my way to work. And I had like a list at the end of the day of like 45 things that were amazing that I wouldn't have noticed. And I was like, okay, so maybe all this good exists in the world and that's not because of me. So maybe you're right. And she was like, do you have like a God or a higher power? And I was like, I think Betty White will do because she's wise and she's dead, so she can watch me. And that worked fine for a while. And we did like the step 3. I was like, yeah, I can be not in control anymore. But I didn't really know. I remember in early sobriety, and I hear people talk about it now, they're like, just tell me how to turn my will in my life. Like, I'd love to do so, but how do I do that? And I was the same way. And she was like, just start praying. And I was like, I don't know how to do that either. And I have this system that I talk about at every meeting that is spiritually based. I started my morning business, my poops. I lit a match and I prayed because it gets rid of the smell. But also the steam goes up and you should be pooping every day. So that makes you pray every day. And the like smoke goes up from the match. And that's like a really beautiful like symbolism thing. And I'd just be like, I don't know what I'm doing. Help me. And then I'd drop it in and flush. And I just did that every day until it made sense. And there's someone else in the program that started doing it. And she was like, actually kind of works for me too. So that's like my one crowning achievement in this life. But yeah, so I just kept doing that until I could figure out like what my basic concept of a higher power was. And I think someone in the meeting said, how I look at steps 1, 2, and 3 is I can't, he can't, I think I'll let him. And I was like, oh, that makes sense. I wish someone would say that when I was like first starting, because that was like it for me. You know, you have that one thing and it just clicks, and that's what made it click. And so I just started praying all the time. And I still didn't really see how it related to my sobriety, but I felt better. and I felt a little calmer. Um, and then we got to step 4, and it took me 3.5 months because I said to my sponsor at step 4, I said, I don't have any resentments. And she was like, you don't. And I said, no, mm-mm. I don't feel anger. So that I don't think we need to do that. And she said, okay, well, why don't you write down a list of every person that you feel hurt by, that hurt your feelings? And I said, give me a week on that. And I did. I had a whole list because I thought a resentment meant I'm angry at you. And I'm a fear-based alcoholic. I'm a sad girl. I'm not an angry gal. Unless I drink, then I'm angry. But yeah, that really helped me because I don't think I would have been able to recognize what a resentment was if she hadn't started out with like, who hurt you? And step 4 for me was not that hard. It would just my hand kept cramping.
Yeah.
Because I would have so much to say. And I got through it and I was like, I do not feel better. I just feel like all these people suck. And now I feel like I know why they suck. And now I know I suck too. And that's awful. And so we did step 5, right? Yeah. And we sat on my phone. It took 12 hours. I was like, I'm really hungry. We didn't eat. I don't know what that was. I think I went to the bathroom one time. And so I remember leaving her house and I felt better. And it was the first time I really started feeling better. And we did the character defects, which I also said, everything I said, I don't have those. Because I had this thing when I was drinking, which I think, what is it, the superiority, it's that complex thing that we always say, which I don't know. I thought I was a saint. I really did, because I worked with disabled kids. So I have to be a saint. And I also felt like I was the worst person in the world. And so the character defects for me like took a while. And then as soon as you write one down, the rest come pouring out. And then you're like, I think I don't actually have this one. And then God will be like, here's the situation. Now tell me if you don't have that character defect anymore. And that just kept happening. And so we made it through that. Amends. That was a bitch for me too. Because I'm terrified of conflict. Like conflict makes me feel like I'm gonna die. And the first amends I gave, I have letters because I can't usually add like I just knew I'd be like staring at them. And I gave my amends to my friend and she looks at me and she goes, well, I Googled what to do when someone gives you an amends and it didn't really have a lot. And she was like, am I supposed to make amends back? And I was like, no, I don't know. I don't think so. And that was it. And I was like, okay, this is not bad. And so I started doing them. And I will say, like, some people definitely used that to be more angry at me in my life. I gave my amends to one of my friends and she disinvited me from her wedding, which was okay, I guess. I don't want to go anyway. But I started feeling like I could go back out into public because I had caused so much wreckage and I was so embarrassed that I was afraid to go to the grocery store because I would always see people that I had hurt or made a fool of myself. And, it's awful. We do all these awful things and we have to go to the Orange Street Food Farm and there they all are. But I started feeling like kind of okay with that. Like going out and seeing people because I knew at least I had done what I could to clean up my part. And then 10, 11, 12. The personal inventory every day we just talked about. Well, it's October, that's why we keep talking about it. But there's an app. It grades you daily, gives you like an 80%. And I usually get 80% or 40% sometimes. It goes through what what you've done that day. And Yeah, I think that just makes me realize that I don't have a grip on my character defects yet. And I'm pretty selfish. I really am. And I am afraid of reaching out to people. And I watched people in these rooms make amends promptly, and that's how I learned how to do it when they were wrong. We talk a lot about that too. Um, because I stew and I'll sit there and be angry. And there's this guy in here, and whenever he does anything wrong or he knows he snapped, he just immediately he turns around and he goes, I shouldn't have done that. And I was like, that's that easy. And I learned how to do that because I watch you do that all the time. Oh, I'm gonna cry. Gross. Oh, oh. Um, so yeah. Um, and the last two, whatever. Um, I now have such a big life. Oh, gross. No, you're
Huh?
um I did not think that I could do well in a job because of my alcoholism. And I'm really good at my job now. And I have these connections. I work with old people, really wretched old people. And I get all the addicts because I like those people. And none of my coworkers want them, but I get to carry the message wherever I can. And I have one patient, she cannot go to meetings because she's pretty immobile, and we get to do AA work while I'm doing her nursing care. And that is like the biggest gift in my life. I've met so many people that I never would meet. And I think that's insane. When I was like, what, I got sober at 24. I was like, well, I guess my life's over. I didn't think I'd be speaking at an AA meeting on a Sunday morning, of course. And I have so many wonderful people in my life that are far beyond what I could have imagined. And I am never alone now if I don't want to be. I got my wisdom teeth out and it was a shit show. And Amy came to my house and because I didn't want to be alone. And she came to my house. I don't remember her being there. But she just hung out with me, I guess. And that's so cool that I have people that would do that for me. And service has been a huge thing for me lately. I got really stale in my sobriety. Like probably 6 months ago. I kind of stopped. I kept going to meetings every once in a while, whatever, like once a week, and I didn't meet with my sponsor anymore, and I wasn't doing anything. And Bruiser kind of just ended up telling me that I was doing this committee, the special events committee, and I still don't know what it is. I don't know why we're doing what we're doing, but we're doing it. And that's been so amazing for me. It gets me out of myself, and I'm always in my head. And I have it makes me meet more people, and that's been so cool for me. And I always think I'm too tired to do that. But then I go and I'm not tired when I'm around you guys because I don't have to fake anything. And I just get to be me. And it's just been really cool to see the community kind of come together. I know during COVID, maybe we didn't do special events as much, but I wasn't here for that. So I it's been really cool to see that kind of change in all of us coming back together. And I got a new sponsor because I stopped doing sponsorship. And I'm reading the book again, and I hated the big book. I thought it was so dull. And now I'm reading it with my sponsor. There's so much good stuff in the big book. I was like, this is fascinating. Look at that. Yeah. And it's given me like going through this book and getting the new sponsor, I feel like so much more excited about AA than I have even like when I first started. And I'm like so excited for what the future holds now. And I used to, when I first came in, I always think about this almost every day. I was like sitting there spinning out about what I would do at a bachelorette party because I was with this guy, we were about to get engaged. I was like, what, are we gonna play sober twister? Like, we can't have fun. He ended up being gay. We didn't get married. There was no bachelorette party. And so, these things just work out when you're sober. Maybe I would have married him if I was still drinking. I don't know. And so, and then when now I know we do have fun. I've had the most fun sober than I've ever had. The jail meeting is the most fun thing I've ever done. I was telling that to them this week and they're like, why? And I was like, great question. But it's been so amazing to go in there and do that work because I feel like they actually want to hear what we have to say. And it surprises me every time. And they're interested and excited. And I was like, I'm going to be sober forever. I'm like, I hope to see you at a meeting. But yeah, it's just been really cool. And I know that like in a year from now, I'll be like, what was I saying up there? What was she doing? Because I just keep growing. And I know that that won't change. And I'm really grateful for all of you. And I love that when I'm out in the world, like yesterday, I got to see you two. I just get to see people that I love wherever I am. And that's wild. Like I get excited when I see someone. I'm like about to pee my pants excited, I'm like, oh my God, hi. And I just never had that before. I never had joy. I never had comfort or safety. And so thank you all for just being here and being yourselves. And I love you all because you're very cute. And I think that's all.
Woo!